Alright folks, in the previous video we looked at setting up this little creature model in Maya using poly modeling. Kind of take a look around at it. What we're going to do now is refine it so that it looks the way we want it to look before we even think about starting to rig it. A couple different things. We want these to be a little more bulbous, so we're going to look at mesh tools. And I'm popping that menu out just by rolling over this here. This is a Windows version of Maya. And there's a number of different things you can do to refine it. Working with the polygons and the geometry we already have, we can come in here and select edges and double click them and scale them in and out. Notice of course I have symmetry on, and as long as the model is in fact symmetrical, you'll be able to pull that off, right? So if I wanted to taper this in a bit, always checking, hitting the number 2 or 3, that smooth preview there. There. But one of the problems we have actually with this model is we need some geometry here. So we're going to use under the mesh tools an insert edge loop. And notice that that worked symmetrically. This can be tricky. Sometimes that doesn't work out, and there are other ways to get around that. You can actually cut this model in half, one technique, and then duplicate it, or mirror it rather, over the other side. Some people prefer to model that way. But right now with the simple model, we're not going to worry too much about it. And then of course if that's about where we want it, we could move these edges up and down, and in fact this sort of shows you the fact that we're moving both edges sets up and down, kind of one of those little anomalies there. So that worked out there, and then we can insert another edge loop up here and move that up and down, right? Now, why would we do that? Because we can actually take both of these guys and go to Scale, the R key, and make a more bulbous eye, right? So again, always checking that. Take that. Now, if we wanted to make the entire eye a little larger, we could actually take vertices, sweep the whole thing, and scale it out, right? Kind of increase its size. Some of this stuff you always want to keep an eye on multi-view, so you didn't select vertices you didn't intend to select. So something like this might be a little more appropriate for selecting. Again, hitting the space key to toggle back and forth between these views and make them a little bit larger. So I'm gonna bring the size of these things up just a little bit, and then check that. But we want to actually put an eyeball inside this eye space here, and there are a couple different ways to go about it. But what we can do is we're going to go to face. We're going to select these two faces. And if you remember back to the previous video, if you hit Control E, we can then extrude, right? We can extrude in or out. So we're going to extrude that to get an eyelid. And then I'm going to hit G to redo that last operation. And then we're going to extrude in again. So we've actually got 2 levels. And then I'm going to move this back here. And again, using that smooth preview, and you can destroy your geometry if you're not careful there, but using that preview will allow us to sort of see what's going on here. So we've got some interesting geometry. If we wanted to have eyeballs in this snailian, we can put them in there. And I'm going to go back to this view here. And you may want to do some scaling. So again, translate, rotate, scale. Play around with these tools a little bit and see, what the best way is to get that desired effect. Translate, rotate, scale, vertices, edges, and faces. That's just all we're doing is pushing and pulling those elements around to get a desired effect. And again, coming back to these different tools. So we could try to insert another edge loop if you wanted something in the middle here to flare out. I'm going back to scale. I'm going to scale it on this plane. And again, if it looks problematic there, you can deselect it and select it, and then I'm going to play with this in smooth view, right, to see what I can do there. Okay, translate, rotate, scale, vertices, edges, and faces. I'm going to come here to the vertices symmetrically, and I'm actually going to scale these up. So I'm scaling. I'm going to move them up. I'm going to go back to scale some more. Try to make that a little more round up there. And play around with that. So another technique or important feature rather, is soft select, which is B. So if I hold the B tool down, or hold B down, I can actually shrink or grow this soft selection. Soft selection allows me to select a region of vertices by selecting one or more, and it will sort of create a softer transformation there. So if I, for example, were to move this, it moves the whole item up and down, as opposed to just that single vertice, right? And of course, if we're in a not so smooth view, we hold down, or we just tap B, and if we hold it down, we can reduce or increase that region of selection. And soft select allows for a little bit more of an organic transformation. Again, looking at that, keeping that smooth view or smooth preview in mind, and using these soft selection options here to sort of create a more organic transformation option. Maybe I want this whole group to be down and to be a little bit more round there. I can increase or decrease the influence of that soft selection tool by holding down that B tool. So see, I can get a nice round version of this. And keep playing around. You don't want any of these faces to be intersecting or colliding with one another, tearing or anything like that. So there we go. We've done some refining of our model. Next steps are going to be to add a few more features, and then we're going to get ready and start rigging it soon.